Hello everyone and welcome to another video. We are going to talk today about what Sir Lenny Henry had to say about the Rings of Power and applauding Amazon for their quote-unquote courage. And this is contradicting what he once said, that having hobbits or Harfoots, because they are hobbit adjacent now, of different colors and races was going to be alright, because it did not contradict Tolkien. Apparently it seems like it did. So let's dive into this article. On August the 28th, Deadline ran an article that reads, quote, "The Lord of the Rings star Sir Lenny Henry applauds Amazon's move away from Tolkien's fair-skinned characters to diverse cast," end quote. Because now having all white people, is completely wrong. The article reads, quote, "Veteran British comedian turned actor Sir Lenny Henry applauds the decision by producers of the Lord of the Rings series to create a racially diverse cast. Henry plays Sadok Barrows, a Harfoot proto-hobbit, because we know now that they are not hobbits anymore, they are hobbit adjacent, right? In Amazon's big-budget show, which launches this Friday, and which has diverted from both Tolkien's original books and the Hollywood films with their mainly fair-skinned characters." Henry told The Times, quote, "That's to do with it being the 21st century. People want to see themselves. Of course, if you go back, there's going to be that thing that prevails because the books don't say, although some of the characters are described as hard-skinned and darker in complexion. But that was then, this is now, and we are telling the story now," end quote. Here we have two things, mainly two important things to consider. One is what the article in itself is telling us about how this is diverting from Tolkien's books, the original ones, the source of all this thing. And it also says how it is trying to move away from the all-white cast that the original films had back in the day, at the beginning of the 2000s. And it is problematic because you get to see how they focus their attention only on diversity, but it's a cheap form of diversity. First of all, because it's trying to tick some boxes in a checklist that they've got. And second of all, because it's sending the message that these minorities that they are trying to represent are not good for anything unless they are given hand-me-downs. That is, unless they are allowed to play in white people's playground. That is completely stupid, because there are many characters out there, and there are also many mythologies out there, from black people, from Asian people in Japan, Asian people in China, Latin people in Peru or in Mexico, and all these places that have a lot of value and that could really make for great stories and epic adventures. But they don't want to pay attention to that because they think that thing is not going to be selling. They don't sell at all. So the only solution for them, well, give them these little bits here and there to keep them appeased, to keep them happy, but also because we are so diverse, right, and we want to be good little people. And that doesn't really come off as that to me and also to many other fans. But also Henry's own words, which contradict, first of all, what he had said before, that they were respecting Tolkien's work, and second of all, also tearing apart that work that he created with all his heart throughout his life, He says that this is a 21st century retelling, and he says that was then, this is now, and we are telling it now, which is also indicative of how destructive this can be, not only for this right now, but in the future. I mean, this is going to be an outdated piece of work in how much time do you think? 5 years' time? 10 years' time? This is not going to be a timeless classic that anyone is going to go and revisit from time to time, like they do with the original movies, or with other pieces of work that are considered classics, and even though they were made many years ago, even decades in some cases, they always go back to that. This is not the case right here. We see here that they are outdating and making this obsolete even before it releases. We are like 2 days away from its release, and still we have not seen anything that can say, oh, this is a decent work of art. For these people, it's all about activism. It's all about ticking the right boxes in the checklist. Look at what he continued saying here in the article, quote, "I didn't see anybody in charge of anything that looked like me for a very long time, so that is lonely. You've got all of these people now saying the same things that I started saying in 2000, which is, the industry needs to change, and can it hurry up, please," end quote. Which is the indication of we only want the change. We only want this faked diversity for the sake of change, for the sake of faked diversity. We don't really want to pay attention to a substance at all, because that would mean that we will have to do even more work than we are willing to, right? And that is what is certain. Even people like Henry himself, because while he is well known in Britain, to all of us, it might not be the case to the rest of the world, but I don't reckon that he's going to be famous or well known or recognizable in a couple of years' time after this thing has aired, and say, "Oh, look, that's the Hobbit," because this works because of their shallow intentions. They are pretty forgettable, and pretty soon these things are not going to be worth a dime to anybody, and all thanks to this, which Henry said, "That was then, this is now. Now we are going to do it like this, filled with diversity, contradicting the original work, and of course, pissing everyone off in the process as well." That is also another reason why I encourage you not to pay attention to this thing and to completely ignore it come this Friday and do something else, maybe read Tolkien or watch the Lord of the Rings trilogy by Peter Jackson, but do not pay attention to this vandalization of an otherwise excellent work. But of course, those are only my Viking views. Let me know your opinion down below in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time.